Okay, hi. Welcome to the regular council meeting for Monday, July 13th. I would like to start by recognizing that we are gathering and governing on the unceded traditional territory of what is now known as the Comox Nation, and we are grateful for their grace and collaboration as we do this good work on their lands. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda with all the late items, please?
Yes, I'll recommend Council approve the agenda for the July 13th, 2026 regular Council meeting with the addition of 5.3 correspondence, re 8.1 building bylaw amendment for energy step code, zero carbon step code and housekeeping from Innovation Building Group, K Country Homes, K Selby and Stand Earth, and the addition of 10.1 notice of motion.
Thank you. Second. Yep. And all in favor of that agenda? Thank you. And there are adoption of minutes from regular council June 22nd.
Move the minutes. Second.
Thank you. All in favor? That is also carried. And first up, first delegation up is Canadian Home Builders Association, Vancouver Island. Are you here? Canadian Home Builders Association, come on up. You're the next contestant at this council meeting.
Mic's on.
Yeah,
Perfect.
feel free to move it up to your height.
Thanks. There's two of us. There was supposed to be three, so we'll kind of split up what Carrie Ann wanted us to talk about today. And first for me, I'm Jim Zeros. I've been a local builder in the Comox Valley for almost 30 plus years. Grew up here, been here since 1963. We specialize in high performance homes, and I sit on the resilience and mission work group on the national level for the past 3 to 4 years. Been on the provincial board for the last 5 years, past president of the Vancouver Island Association. And so being with what's going on with the step code and the EL4, all of my job is on behalf of CHBA Vancouver Island is that the municipalities and towns and cities to try to think about stuff before we rush into them, because things sound good at first, and I know everybody likes to go green and less energy being burnt, but as we've been finding out lately too, that there's stuff that people don't see behind the scenes on when we go all electrified, that there's other stuff that have impacts maybe on the rivers, the lakes, etc. And for a builder, we need to slow it down because we've had way too many code changes and it's driving the costs way, way high. And the only way that you can stop that is to slow down all the rules and regulations to let us get caught up. And every time we have provincial government or federal government that comes up with a great idea, they want to get out there before they talk to the experts that maybe know a little bit more than they do. And so for me in the valley, like I said, we like the green and we like the build, but I also get a lot of feedback that people want a choice still. And there's a lot of choices besides being all electrified, that in certain climates they maybe need natural gas or forms of what they're trying to do to make their impact less of what it was, say, 5 or 6 years ago, and they're doing that. And at the same time, you know, not that we burn wood, but there are high energy efficient fireplaces out there that hardly put anything back out for emissions as well. So depending where you live, you know, Hornby, you have power for a week, or Kelsey Bay, you know, you have to think about that as well. And I just sort of look at it that concrete's our big issue, more so than the energy. And I noticed when we started doing this, when we had a choice of energy pathways, we were getting good rebates, and clients, it was affordable, and we were swapping doing a lot of net zero ready to full net zero because the rebates we were getting back were huge. And the moment that it sort of got the green light to go all to BC Hydro, the builders lost all that. And there wasn't as many things that we could put back in the home for clients because they couldn't afford putting that extra 20,000 into a grid. So that's sort of where we sit on CHBA on the island.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Okay, hello everyone. Probably don't need the microphone. I'm Ian Sutcliffe. I live here in Cumberland. Been here for about 4 years. Been in Canada for about a decade. And the whole time I've been in Canada, I've worked in construction. Initially as a project manager, doing high-rise residential projects downtown Vancouver, and now I work as a director of projects for West Urban Developments, and so primarily concrete podiums, 6-story wood frames, all the way from Vancouver Island to Winnipeg. So in terms of working in the construction industry, I've got that decade or so of experience here in Canada. Bringing it to the topic that we're here for tonight, so EL4. You know, Jim's made some points there, and the CHBA, you know, Kerry Ann, our CEO for Vancouver Island, gave us some points to raise. I think Jim's covered those. All I can really do is present my perspective from, you know, being a Cumberland resident and from working in the construction industry, which is the biggest issue that we have right now is, of course, a shortage of housing and the cost of building those houses. So for me, simplifying our processes, removing layers of bureaucracy and unhindering and removing any obstacles to building quickly and efficiently and cost effectively, that would all be a positive thing for me who's looking to actually deliver houses. Now, whether EL4 and the migration towards it is going to inhibit doing that, I don't know enough about the implications of it at this stage to really comment to that effect, but I think the key question is, can it possibly hold us back? Can it cost us more? Can it reduce the number of houses that we can actually bring into the community and their affordability? And if those things are risks that we foresee, that to me would be you know, the most compelling reason not to hurry into making it mandatory, because I think we need to really focus on housing availability, speed of construction and cost of construction in order to deliver more homes for all of us. So that's really my primary points on the EL4.
Thanks. And we do have the letter from Kerry Ann.
Yes.
Did you two also submit something in writing by email or anything?
I did not know,
Okay.
Jim.
No, I did not. I sort of sit in with Carrie Ann, and
okay.
we pay her to do the writing, but if there's something you would like locally, I have no problem.
No, I'm just wondering if it was if we've heard this from you here and also via email.
Yeah, that was Carrie Ann
Okay.
on, because she does a lot of the, I get to sit in with the Ministry of Housing, and then probably once or twice a year, she sees them a lot more than
Yeah.
me. So she just relays what's going on when we're not there, and then she just sort of asked us to talk, because I live up here too, on me as a builder, what I see going on, and that we're not condoning that we don't want to go EL4 at all. For me, it's our passion. I'm just saying,
You want the choice.
yeah, just slow it down and let us get it all right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
being-
Yeah.
Thanks. No questions? They left.
I just had one question, actually. Yeah. Do you mind?
We do have counselors with
Just have a-
questions if you'd want to stay for questions. Okay, go ahead, counselor.
Yeah. I'm just curious as to what you would see as a reasonable timeline, and if I asked this question before once, but not to you folks specifically, but if there's a crunch in terms of sourcing materials right now, if that's part of it, it's just pure cost, or if it's just the speed of adoption to get your crews up to building these. Where are the main pinch points for you?
Was that, you want to get,
First, or do you want me to?
you go ahead and,
Jim and I will probably have slightly different answers, and so we'll probably both need a minute to speak. But for me, you know, my day job literally is trying to figure out how we can make our projects viable to build. And for the company that I work for, West Urban, you know, times are harder than they've ever been, and so the situation we're in right now is we've got a land bank of, say, a dozen properties that have been purchased over the years. And when they were purchased, the analysis that was done on them, they were viable to build. And now they're not. And there's a whole host of reasons for that. I can give you sort of the things that you could easily find online, but a lot of it's self-explanatory, and you're probably already aware of it, but it's worth re-emphasizing anyway. And I don't know what the solutions are, but the cost of borrowing is very high at the moment. The cost of trades, the cost of materials, any unforeseen extra costs such as tariffs or additional taxes, and then the challenges of getting the approval process, the development applications through all the various layers that need to, to consider them prior to approval. All of that time adds to the sunk cost of the purchase of the land and the cost of interest that's being paid throughout the life cycle of owning that land. And the longer that goes on, the more that's compounded and the less economically viable the project is. Because there's more risk globally in the world right now, particularly in North America, investor appetite is also a lot lower. And so when investors want to come into a project, they'll demand more. So that's either more levels of scrutiny or a greater return or additional constraints on the time frame of construction. All of these things make tight margins no longer viable. So in the case of West Urban, and I'm sure for many other developers, and you see developments for sale everywhere you look at the moment, it's because developers can't build them anymore. And I know to some extent developers may not have the best reputation, but they're still delivering homes, and they're homes that we need. And in the case of many, there'll be rental properties, a lot of people, a lot of young families, they can't afford to buy their own homes anymore. And so rental is the best option. The only way to achieve that is to increase the inventory, so to build more, and that can bring rents down. And we've got the opposite of that right now. I know that was kind of a cumbersome and long-winded answer, but did that make sense?
No,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So now for me on the builder cap and the CHBA part is the reason to slow it down is because when everything's thrown, excuse me, from a provincial level to municipalities, you guys aren't ready for them. And I find it, and I would say 99% of the other builders, why is it today taking so long for us to get building permits? It's because everything's so layered down that you need more people to look at it to make sure you don't have the liability of what's going on. And it's so layered now, and we're paying, like 15 years ago, I didn't need a structural engineer to build a house in Part 9. Energy advisors did not exist 7 years ago. And I can keep going on and on. So this all comes in here. What does a building inspector do now? I got all the liability, I got all the engineers, but it still takes me 3 months longer to get a permit. And that's where the builders are having difficulty, is probably in the last 5 years, I've seen more change in the building code in BC than I have ever since it has existed. And it's going way too fast and way too quick. And if we're gonna do it right, the ones that suffer are gonna be you guys owning the house, because you'll have a builder that doesn't know what he's doing, but he's just complying so he can make money. You need to be educated. And I can tell you, builders, we hate change. We get a pattern, we know our profits, we wanna go. You keep throwing change in on us, they're not spending the money to get educated. We're building science houses like cars. To be a mechanic on a car today is not the same as it was 20, 30 years ago. So that's all we're at. We want to hit the same goals. We just want to make sure that the municipalities are in the same goal too, because maybe Vancouver can go get EL4 in step 5, but they're paying $2-3 million for a lot. So really the client on a price point isn't going to hurt them, but it might in Cumberland, it might in Comox, it might in Campbell River, it might out in Williams Lake. So that's where we're at.
Thanks. Anybody else have a question?
I just did. We, if I may, we have a couple of letters from builders who tell us that they've been building to these standards, and that they've been building to all electric homes and
Yeah.
and towards these standards,
Yep.
and that their experience is that the lack of dual trades, so you're only using electrical rather than earth, and other pieces with appropriate design makes negligible difference to the cost in the experience of the work that they're actually producing. So, how do you square that with your concern that this may increase costs when others say they have that
Well,
experience?
it's in there. Education's always tough, right? And we've been in an industry that, you know, we've never had to pay to go back to school to learn how to do something. And right now, the contractors and the builders got the pressure that they have to do more of the schooling because they're running everything. It's very hard to get sub-trades to be taking these courses. I educate my trades. I'm not a plumber, I'm not an electrician, I'm not a heat pump expert, but I'm telling them how it's gonna go in my house, why it should be running that way, and they're following. And they should be engaged in this transition too. Same with the building officials. We had a radon gas change. Not one building official can tell me the proper way to put it in. Why am I educating them? Right? So it's we want to get the municipalities all on board before to do that. And speaking with the regional district in the Comox Valley, they've been really great to deal with because they've always come to us first and said, oh, what do you think? We got municipalities going to step 3, 4. What do you think we should do? Do what the provincial government says, take it step by step so you guys can get it all right and builders can go through that process. And that's all we're asking. But we have some areas that's not possible because they have their own agenda. And once you put something in, it's pretty hard to take it out, so.
I will say that we did do engagement with the building community before this came to council.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, all I would highlight is the range of different builders that there are out there that we're looking to build in Cumberland and in the Valley. And so it's going to range from, you know, on the smallest scale, perhaps prefabricated modular tiny homes, you know, the addition in your yard, and then on a larger scale, the multifamily developments. And so we need to look at, you know, which perspective came from which particular builder and how they're impacted. And it's broad, and I can't speak for every builder, not at all, but I can speak in simple terms about how it would impact, you know, the organisation that I work for. And so for us, it'd come down to design and development cycles and timeframes, and how we're impacted. So, for example, you know, for us to put together the drawing package, and there's different evolutions of that drawing package, but the most basic would be drawing schematics, so renderings, you know, half a dozen pages for a building, really to present to, you know, whomever's going to authorize that building being built. So usually it's taking into account form and character and that kind of thing. Is it going to fit well in the community? But from that point to getting it all the way to IFC drawings to actually be constructed, typically it's going to take several years. And so if this change were to come in midway during that cycle, it can take that development all the way back to the beginning, and then we're caught in that loop again of it's no longer viable, the costs compound. So it's not going to impact everybody the same. I think that's the best way to look at it. And you know, it might be fantastic for 6, 7 out of 10 builders, but it might be catastrophic for the other 3. You would have to look in more detail.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Hi. I think, and I can check with staff, we're going to be, what, 1 year or 2 years ahead of the provincial mandate? 2 years. Are you guys going to be ready in 2 years for these changes? I mean these changes are coming. The provincial government has said this is happening. We're pushing it forward a little bit, and you said in here that you wanted it in line with you know, all the community. We're going to be in line with what Courtney has already done.
I'm one of very few on a board that are, like, we have experts that all they do is either energy or biology, all that stuff. I'm on the building sector, right? But as far, the reason we want to follow the provincial government's pathway is because that's who our dialogue is with, right? So if we feel that they're rushing too quickly, we can't talk to all the municipalities, right? So that's what we're doing. I know before there was a step code, I knew what was coming. I know when they wanted it. They're not even close to being on track where they said they were going to be 10 years ago. And that's just because I'm not a rocket scientist, but I'm a builder. It's just impossible. Like, I even look at the EL4 carbon step code. It's a great thing. But how do you electrify a whole province in two years when 34 point something percent, I don't have the correct accurate, is electrified? The rest is other sources of power. It takes time. So 2 years, I'm ready as a builder now. I just don't know if everybody else is ready.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and, oh, sorry, we need to receive that delegation, please.
Motion that council receive the delegation from the Canadian Home Builders Association, Vancouver Island.
Second.
All in favor of that, and that is carried. Next up is the appeal from apartheid-free Comox Valley. Thank you all for being here. Staff, do you want to speak to that briefly?
So this delegation request came in back in May. Council has given direction through its procedure bylaw that was from 2012, actually, that the staff may refuse a delegation that's not considered under the jurisdiction of the council. And back in 2025, staff brought that to council for clarification and confirmation, and council approved a policy directing staff to deny requests for delegations that aren't matters that aren't under council's jurisdiction. And we've actually denied, including this one and another one. There'd be 6 altogether that we've actually turned away. And this is an appeal to that decision, which is also set out in the bylaw. So it's really up to council to decide what matters it considers, what matters it includes on its agenda. So council could approve the request, and staff would schedule the delegation, or council could deny the request.
Okay, and if council decides to approve the delegation, when would that happen? Because we're about to close for summer.
Yeah, we may have time on the 27th and that's of July, and that's the date that's been requested.
Oh, okay.
I think that agenda is lightening up, so there's a possibility there might be room then. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Council, thoughts, questions?
I'll jump in first. Because I've seen this in other local areas of government. Thank you so much for the correspondence, for the compiled database, for everything. I think it's really important to bring that to light. And I admire the show of force and I believe in what is behind your cause. I feel that without us having a direct ability to affect federal policies surrounding foreign governments, that's not our job as a local government. It's our job as citizens, but I think that small councils have the risk of being overrun by things that we can't affect. And that's not to say that your presence here today isn't appreciated or noted.
I'm just going to remind you, Councillor, that you're having this conversation with us.
Yeah.
And not with the room.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just feel that if we want the wheels of local government not to get diverted from our primary task, that it's within our purview to deny delegations that aren't matters of local government. So.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I feel that Councillor Brecky sort of echoed my thoughts. So thank you.
Well, I personally would support this delegation. Yeah, I also agree with council, and I think that's a precedent that is difficult for us to set.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one as well. As much as I agree with what the delegation is asking for, and I believe we already, I mean, we have no dealings with any of these companies that have been listed, et cetera. And I would, you know, maybe we can check with staff later on to make sure that that is the case. But yeah, trying to, our place to negotiate, I think, with the federal government is at FCM and through things like that, rather than from the council table.
So for me, there's two pieces of this. There is hearing the delegation, which allows people to share their concerns with council. And then there is the work that follows that delegation. And it's our choice what we want to do following the delegation. So I hear all the concerns around this isn't our area of purview, and I would add to that concern that our staff are maxed out with the work plans that they have in front of them, and this would just going through the list and making sure we're not purchasing from any of these people alone would be a body of work that we may not have time to fit in. There are several requests in the delegation. We are not required to do those things just because we hear the delegation. So I think the question we want to ask ourselves is, do we want to hear the delegation, and are there risks associated with that? So there's the work with staff that is associated with hearing the delegation and the process of scheduling the delegation and all that stuff, any follow-up work we do. And then there's also the impact to our other local governments who will likely get this request as well, and may or may not already have got those requests. So I just want to say that. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you for that. That's good, important to remind us to separate that we're considering the delegation as opposed to the issue that the delegation specifically, although the two are tied up together. What I will say is that this organisation and group have done an enormous amount of very thorough work to prepare their request, and that request has been delivered in writing and has been in the council reader, and all of us have had a chance to read it and consider it, and I think for the reasons we've expressed around this table have decided not to bring it to the table. So I understand that a delegation may add some context and nuance to that request, but given the thoroughness of it, then the extra time and work that it places upon, as well as the reason we set up this procedure was for the precedent of retaining our time, rather limited time, for issues that were specifically within our jurisdiction.
Anybody else? Rachel.
Could I ask that when council considers the question of whether to hear the delegation, if you provide clarity on whether you are considering request number 3 as well in the delegation? Right. The appeal was for items 1, 2, and 4, but staff would like clarity on number 3 if council wishes to hear a delegation on request number 3, which is the procurement and investments.
Oh, I see. Okay. The stuff that is actually within our purview. Okay.
I think the case is that if there had not been an appeal, we would be hearing that. If the organisation had accepted our corporate officer's decision was that they may delegate on item 3 and may not on the others, then we would be receiving that delegation by the authority we'd vested in our staff, which is correct. And so to my mind, that's still the correct path unless we wish to decide differently from our staff on the authority we delegated.
Anybody else?
So if I'm understanding correctly, then if we refuse the delegations for the other things, they can still come to us on the 27th and present a delegation to request item 3.
That's what staff had considered, but ultimately it's up to council to approve that, whether
if-
they'd
if
like to hear
that's
the
allowed by our-
delegation on item 3.
I'm definitely willing to stick to our current policy and allow delegations on things that are in our control, yes.
Okay, there's a recommendation there, yeah. With the clarification of whether or not we would consider number 3, I guess.
I'd move that council receive a request from Apartheid-Free Comox Valley regarding their appeal to appear as a delegation and recommend to staff that their decision regarding the appeal stands.
So we would be willing to hear number 3, okay. Seconder,
Second.
all in favor?
I'll go with that.
And that is carried. Okay, next up is support for motion M35 regarding support for BC Ferries from Gord Johns, MP. Do you want me to do this one? Since I thank you for being here, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, if you don't mind speaking to that.
Okay, so Gord Johns has been working through requests for the federal government to fund the BC ferry system like it funds, or similarly, to the level it funds the ferries on the East Coast. And he has sent us quite a thorough package requesting, now I'm going to have to find all the requests. Requesting action be taken by us, which is, sorry.
Do you want me to read that?
Do you have it in
Yes.
front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
I am respectfully asking your council to support this effort by passing a council resolution supporting motion M35 and fair federal operational support for BC Ferries, writing to the federal government in support of modernizing ferry funding policies and establishing long-term operational support for BC Ferries, and encouraging neighboring local governments, regional districts, First Nations, and community organizations to support this initiative. And then specifically, he encourages you to write to the Honorable Gregor Robertson from Ministry of Housing and Infrastructure, and the Honorable Steve McKinnon,
Yeah.
Minister of Transport and International Trade, and the Honorable Francois Philippe Champagne, and that's the Minister of Finance. And there's different things that within there that he wants you to include in the letters.
Okay, thank you. So the question before us is whether or not we want to support this work of our MP, I guess, with those requests. Questions?
It's great.
Yeah.
Go
well,
Gord.
notwithstanding things that fall or don't fall within our jurisdiction, there are, what did I say? There's hardly a resident amongst us who isn't affected directly by the costs of ferry, which is why I believe that this does actually fall as an appropriate piece of advocacy.
Yeah.
Completely concur with that.
Yeah.
Live on an island.
We do live on an island with multiple ferries all around us. Okay, so there's a recommendation to receive that, and I guess we would need to add that we would like to do the 3 things.
Who would be writing all of these letters? And
Probably me.
what?
Probably me.
Probably you?
Yeah.
Okay. Go Vic.
In collaboration with someone else, hopefully.
Yes, okay.
with collaboration with Rachel, who will fix it for me once I write it.
Good. Do we need to craft a motion on the fly then here? And
I think we can just say,
Letter of support.
including, that we receive the correspondence and complete the 3 requested actions? Or write the 3 letters?
I think for the minutes, it would be good to say that, just say the council supports motion M35 and fair
yes.
federal operational support for BC Ferries, and write to the federal government to support of modernizing ferry funding policies, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, yeah,
I could finish
I
that.
can do it. So I'll make the motion, then somebody else can move it, if that's okay. That council received the correspondence from Gord Johns MP, Courtney Alberni, requesting support for his proposed bill, M35. Oh, I'm making that one, it's not the one I need to make. And that we support the motion M35 for fair federal operational support for BC Ferries, and that we would write letters to the federal government in support of modernizing ferry funding policies and establishing long-term operational support for BC Ferries, and encourage our neighboring local governments, regional districts, First Nations, and community organizations to also support this initiative.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Is that all of it? Okay, thank you. Next up is correspondence rebuilding bylaw amendment for energy step code, and that's just the receipt of the correspondence we got today, I think. That all came in today, yep.
move receipt.
Thank you. Seconder?
Second.
All in favor of receiving that? Thank you. And now we are on to the number 2 dam replacement project preliminary designs. Everyone's very excited about this, Jason.
Good evening. So yes, I'm Jason Wallace, Manager of Municipal Projects with the Village of Cumberland. What I've brought forward today was a report to support kind of getting in front of you, having discussion around the fact that we're going to be looking at going to procurement for the final design work for our number 2 dam. Just as we started going through the initial design and preliminary design process, we realized that the cost associated with that was higher than we were comfortable with doing through our current standing offer process, and have chosen to go to RFP for those final design and construction support portion of the design engineering. So we're going to get that going out right away here. We'll be coming back with a kind of recommendation on that one, hopefully in the soon future here. And then the other piece was getting those initial preliminary designs in front of council just to see what it's starting to look like. Those do need to be detailed out more. As part of this next part of the detailed process, we want to take a look at the entire Cumberland Creek as a whole, you know, looking at the situation that we had last year and what's going on in the lower section of it, making sure we're taking all of that into account when we take this from preliminary to our final detailed designs.
Awesome.
From a funding stance, we're still waiting to hear on the funding from this. Hopefully going to hear right away here. We'll get,
Any minute now.
yeah.
It's going to come rolling in. Okay, thank you. That was one of my questions was, are we figuring out whatever we do with that design, how it impacts the lower creek and all the goodness that happens down there?
And we've added some language into that RFP to state that we'll be looking for this group when they're doing the detailed design to look at the creek system as a whole.
Okay.
Just with what happened. We'll be using some of the information that came from that with some of the other work that we're doing, but having them verify that the designs that they're creating is going to be sustainable long-term with what we have going on in the lower portions as well.
Yep. Okay. Questions, council?
I couldn't tell from these preliminary designs, is there still going to be a possible pipe for future energy use in the
We
in
still
the
have it
design?
in our documentation
It's
to
still-
have,
okay.
have it prepared for possible energy generation in the future. Doing
Yeah.
that as kind of a rough in on the design of the
Okay.
structure, yeah.
And then it looks like it's going to take 3 small dams on the backside?
No,
Is
the
that-
backside, those were options. So when they came through and they did the hydrology and they started to look at that area, they weren't sure when they go to detailed design which of those spots is going to be the most effective to get the most amount of water hold back as well as support the lower creek the best. So those were 3 options that they were looking at. They're areas kind of that they felt had good bank that could handle a structure. And so they're trying to decide which of those 3. So as we take it to detailed design, it would be up to those folks to say, you know what, now that we've looked, this is the most best spot for this to sit.
Okay. I
No,
was
not doing 3 of
I
them
was
in a row.
unclear as to why we needed 3 dams at the back there, but okay.
Stack 'em.
That makes perfect sense then. Thank you.
And so, and in the RFP, we would also want to be looking at the best option for increasing capacity within, obviously, the funding we have and the issues we have.
Yeah, and making the most of the area as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult area the way that it sits, but
Yeah.
even with the preliminary designs, when we were looking at it, was trying to figure out the way to hold the most amount of water that we can safely in that area.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's great to have this come back just for information. Just let us ask the questions and understand. Large amount of rock fill required to do this, large amounts of material. Is any of it going to be sourced up there, or is it all going to be have to be brought up?
We're going to have to still work on those conversations as we go through the detailed design process, but the hope is we're going to be able to have some of those with Mosaic about what kind of is up there and what's available. So as part of kind of what we're going to be doing as soon as we get this group on to do the detailed design, and one of those first steps is going to be start to connect with the different kind of shareholders around to ensure that everybody's had an opportunity to take a look, even from the preliminary design phase up forward into when they're doing those detailed designs, and where kind of some of these materials are going to come from. Can they be local in the area? Can they be local near site? But some of that review is going to have to be done in conjunction with some of these other groups that have ownership in the area.
And how long do you expect the sort of RFP process to take?
Likely about a month, then we're going to be at that point, hopefully going to have those detailed designs kind of through until the fall, with the hopes that we can start getting that stuff out for permitting, with the hopes that we can then move into tendering for the construction work in the kind of early spring to prepare for the work to happen next summer.
It's nice it's actually moving along like that pace.
Yep,
Thank you.
that's a nice timeline.
That's great. Thank you so much. There's a recommendation there,
I'll
Council?
move the council receive the preliminary design update for number 2 dam replacement project for information.
All in favor? Let's go.
Thanks.
Let's get more water. Okay, and next up is reserve and surplus policy update with Annie.
Did we miss the,
We will have questions after.
oh, we pulled the wastewater.
Yeah.
All right,
Go ahead,
so
Ann.
this report is to seek council approval of the amended reserve and surplus policy that includes now the new amenity cost charge reserve and an updated minimum and optimum balances based on the 2026 financial plan and the latest tangible capital assets values. So there's an amendment to include the new reserve established for the amenity cost charges that will be collected on most residential development to help finance amenities such as recreation center expansion and daycare. And we also looked into the reserve fund balances based on the budget and asset replacement values and recommend adjusting some of the levels. And the proposed balances are included in Appendix A. So there's some minor implication with increased balances proposed, then there won't be as much surpluses kind of cascading from the accumulated surplus into the stabilization funds and then into the capital reserve for a few years. But we give it, a few years, and then we should see that cascading effect again. So any question?
Thank you. Questions, Council?
Just one question. As you just mentioned, the way our cascade works down through these funds, are we going to cascade funds down to make sure that we meet the minimum requirements? Or are we going to wait until the accumulated surplus fund hits the full 1.9 before we start to?
Yeah, that's the idea. Like those we will kind of max on the accumulated surplus, and then stabilization funds, and then capital.
Okay. Is that going to leave some of these funds below their minimum amounts?
Actually, I didn't. I have to look into that. I think most are at their were at their minimum balance. Maybe not at this point now because we've moved everything up a little bit. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'd have to look.
Okay. I'm just wondering if, as we get to budget time next year, if we should take a look at what is cascading and making sure that maybe we're meeting the minimum requirements on a few of these more important reserves, because we've brought those minimums up, and I mean they're minimums for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah, we might during budget time we might look into the contribution to reserves and kind of propose increases
How we can
to council.
move the funds around a little bit to me.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
but
just-
otherwise,
Sorry, I do just want to add, some of those capital reserves are below their minimum, and they were below their minimum before this change. So just to keep in perspective, right?
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
all right. Fair enough.
Some of them may never get.
Anyway.
But it's good to have a good policy anyway. Okay. Any other questions? Then there's a recommendation there.
I'll move the council adopt the amended reserve and surplus policy number 3.5.
Second.
All in favor? That is carried. And next up is council member monthly reports. Congratulations to Councillor Tyrion, who is the only one who managed to do that this month. We'll all have a little extra writing to do
Mine is a 2-month report.
next
'cause
month.
I forgot.
Oh, nice. Well, mine will be next month. Okay, and if there are no questions on that report,
No, okay.
then we will go to building bylaw amendment for energy, step code 0 carbon, step code and
Do
housekeeping.
you actually need a recommendation that we receive a member
Oh,
monthly
sorry,
reports
yes,
for
let's
June
receive the
2026?
report.
Second.
All in favor of receiving it? Yes. Okay. Now you're up, Chris. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Chris Baker, Manager of Permits, Licensing, and Bylaw for the Village of Cumberland. I'm here to present for third reading the building bylaw amendment 1254 2006 with following the last council meeting. There's three changes that were suggested. One was an opportunity to make an improvement. So we took out the company name and replaced it. We took out both Shaw and TELUS and replaced it with telecommunications, so that we wouldn't have to update that in the future. And then we eliminated the part about the solid fuel burning appliances that we had taken that piece out of the City of Courtenay's amendment bylaw that we had considered really early on, and then we had added it in error and kept it as we went through our different drafts and going back and forth. And so that was a mistake that was caught by council, and appreciate that. And we've decided that especially at this stage, like that solid fuel burning appliance, it seemed like a good idea to put it in and eliminate a bylaw just for convenience, but it stands as it is, and it looking at its specific language and the way that they use definitions, it is actually a little bit complicated to add it in, especially now, and there'd be a lot of stuff to explain. So it's easiest, I think, just to leave it aside, and then so we've done that, and then that deleting section 3 was the part that repealed the, and so we've removed that because we're going to be just leaving the other solid fuel burning appliance bylaw in place. I'm happy to answer questions, though, about either these changes, or if there are any questions that you have about the schedule, the timings, the things that were brought up by the delegation. I do my best. If there's anything that I really can't answer, I might have to ask a friend or.
Thank you. Questions, council?
I mean, can you speak to that delegation a little bit? About the speed, like I concur with that delegation. I feel they're concerned.
Yeah, so I think so both like the delegation and then the letters that were received. I read all of those today as well, and I would say that we considered that point of view as well in like from through this whole process. And the recommendation that we came to was, it was charting the path that seemed to be like it highlighted the importance of regional consistency, but then also like the options that are ultimately on the table are wait and don't move until the BC Building Code moves, which would be maybe quite a jump to achieve that all in 2030. Move right to the top of the step code immediately, which some communities took that opportunity, and I think this whole thing came about because some communities were exceeding what was in the BC Building Code, and so it gave them the opportunity to move very quickly. And then the other opportunity was to move at sort of a predictable rate every couple of years, which would allow for that for planning and projecting out what needs are going to be, that you've got those at about a 2-year point. You have predictability about when those step changes are going to happen. And essentially, like with the energy step code, that one does involve more costs for builders because it has to do with the building envelope. So that one we have kept that one as conservative as possible. And then the zero carbon step code essentially speaks to appliance packages, so hot water heating, space heating. So it's electrifying, as you move up the steps, it's electrifying more of those systems to achieve the higher steps. So there isn't a lot of, because you're swapping out potentially gas appliance in the planning phase, there isn't a lot of additional cost that ends up being passed on to the consumer as a result of changes in the zero carbon step code. And then the other thing that helps the building community is that essentially this involves another trade, like the energy advisors, and they're the ones that are the experts and do the calculations based on plans and then confirm as built. As those they're aware of those as the steps change, and then they're the ones that are guiding builders and homeowners through those steps.
Great, thanks for the clarification. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks.
Can I
Yes.
provide just another relevant piece of information, and this was in the initial report to council. So there were two policy directions staff had to follow. One is to accelerate the steps, but the other is regional consistency. And with the zero carbon step code for EL3, the regional consistency, so City of Courtenay adopted EL3 in January of this year. CVRD will be on January 1st, 2027, next January. And Town of Comox hasn't decided. So for EL3, that was fairly straightforward. We didn't want to adopt it immediately to catch up with City of Courtenay, so let's align with CVRD, and then all three local governments would be aligned the coming January 1st. But then for EL4, the City of Courtenay and CVRD diverge. So City of Courtenay adopts EL4 in January 1st, 2028, and CVRD has not opted to accelerate that adoption at this time. So that would mean that they would be following the BC Building Code for EL4, which is 2030. So our recommendation was more accelerated when we sort of, how did we choose which one to align with, which of the two to align with. So I just thought I'd try to remind you of that information.
And it does make sense for us to align more with the city of Courtenay than the regional district.
Yes, I think that's a part of what we had in mind. We seem more similar to that kind of more urban development than the rural development.
Did you have something?
Well, just to address that really, and not to rehash all of those previous decisions. That's exactly, we align in that way. I would like to see us move faster. I think the sooner we're off and moving on and getting the benefits, the better. But absolutely accept the consistency argument, and therefore it stands as is in my mind.
Okay, if there's nothing else, there's a recommendation there, Council.
I'll move that council amend building bylaw amendment bylaw 1254 2026 as follows. 1 to section 2 C13 by removing the text regarding solid fuel burning appliances from solid fuel burning appliances at the end of H. To section 2 by adding 38, revise section 27.4 by striking out Shaw and replacing it with telecommunications, and by deleting 27.5, TELUS, and renumbering the subsequent subsection accordingly, and by deleting section 3 and renumbering the subsequent section accordingly. The council give third reading to building amendment bylaw number 1254 2026 as amended.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Okay, and next up is Water Conservation Bylaw proposed amendment for Village Park, Water Park, and outdoor washing.
Oh, thanks.
You're not Dave.
No, I'm not. So I'm here to present on his behalf.
Just to be clear, just in case.
All right, so the purpose of this report is to seek council's direction on the proposed amendment to the village water restriction bylaw to specifically exempt the village park, water park from bylaw restriction. So as the village responds to a drought and water scarcity situation in summer 2026, staff have been reviewing and discussing the current water conservation bylaw to assess the impacts to residents at the various stages of restriction. And we now recommend to amend the bylaw to exempt the water park from restriction in the bylaw. This will follow further review of option for the the spray park, which include the ability to turn off some specific higher flow fixtures without completely closing the popular village park community during high peak season. And then should council proceed with this decision, the specific water park operational decisions would then be the responsibility of staff, which is consistent with the approach that we're taking currently with the recreation center bike wash station, which has an operational practice to close at stage 2. Sorry, I'm not super familiar with all those restrictions. Some changes were also included to the current bylaw to regulate the washing outdoor surfaces, exterior windows, and exterior building surfaces in stage 3 and stage 4, which is also consistent with CVRD. So is there any question from council?
Questions, council?
Just more of a comment. I think it's important for us to have something like the water park, especially on really, really hot days. And it's not every family can pack it up and go down to the lake. Logistics kind of stand in the way of that. So offering that to old and young is a good amenity.
Yeah, no, I support this change as well.
I'm confused about the outdoor washing, and you may not be familiar enough. I don't understand what change we made. it looks the same to me. Is it the whole thing new? We just
I
didn't
think
have
it's
it
all
before?
new, right? It wasn't in there
Oh,
before.
okay, that's
Yeah.
why. Yeah.
The outdoor washing, I can clarify, the outdoor washing was included in stage 3, in stage 2 rather, but it wasn't continued through stage 3 and 4.
Oh.
So it's been added to stage 3, the same as stage 2. But
Okay.
then in stage 4, it's completely prohibited.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, and I just wanted to note also, there has been some conversation online around this, and there is a comparison, or there's a note in the report that to exempt the water parks is consistent with both the CVRD conservation bylaw and the town of Courtenay town of Comox, city of Courtenay. But to be clear, the city of Courtenay is a recirculating water park. So it's not this, I just want to make make it clear that our water park is different from those. And we asked staff to find a happy medium so that we could have that cooling in place, but also not be having tons of water. So I really appreciate that staff sorted out that we could turn off different mechanisms, and hopefully when we do the master planning for Village Park, we can figure out whether or not we can turn that into reusing that water somehow. But yeah, I appreciate this too. And so what it would mean is that would become an operational decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there's a recommendation there, Council.
Well, I'll recommend Council give first, second and third readings to Water Conservation Amendment Bylaw number 1271, 2026.
Second.
All in favor of that? Thank you. Next up is development cost charges and amenity cost charge reserve and fund bylaws. And that is you.
It's me again. So this report is to present the 2 bylaws to establish the reserve funds for collected development cost charges and amenity cost charges, both for council consideration of first, second, and third readings. The purpose of the establishment of the funds is to hold the collected monies in a separate fund and to ensure the funds are spent for the purpose that they are collected. So this is really just kind of more housekeeping items. So council adopted a new amenity cost charges earlier in June for the purpose of funding recreation center expansion and daycare, and development cost charges by law were adopted many years ago for water, sewer, storm, roads, and parks. And yeah, legislation requires reserve funds to be established by bylaw, and that the funds and interest earned on the funds be only used for the purpose the funds were established for in the first place. Any questions?
Go ahead, Councillor Tyrion.
I understand the ACC one, but do we not already have a DCC fund?
No, actually, I was looking into that, and we never established the funds for.
We've always kept the fund separate, but we've never had an actual.
It's properly accounted for in our books and statements, but it's never been established by bylaw. So we're taking a chance to set everything up.
Keeping us on our toes.
That makes more sense to me now.
Yeah.
Okay. No, this looks fine, yes.
Yep. The only question I had was maybe I'm just remembering this wrong because there's a lot going on in my head. That we had I thought we had a rec center in the ACCs.
Yeah, rec center and daycare. It's all
okay,
together.
it's one. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, there's a recommendation there.
I'll move that council give first, second, and third reading to Development Cost Charge Reserve Funds Bylaw number 1263, 2026, and that council give first, second, and third reading to Amenity Cost Charge Reserve Fund Bylaw number 1264, 2026.
Thank you. Seconder?
Second.
All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thanks, Annie. And that is all notices, motions, and announcements. So we do have a notice of motion from Councillor Tyrion, Councillor Ward, who would like to bring that council direct staff to engage with the Ministry of Transportation and Transit regarding a trail development for a safe cycling route to the east of the Parkway from the interchange to the Cumberland Road Junction. And that report will be coming next council meeting. Yes. Okay. Question period.
Yes, I've got 2 questions.
Do you want to come use the mic? Not really.
Can you hear me?
I gotta hear you at home.
The people at home want to hear you. You can sit if you'd rather.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, just 2 questions. The preliminary number 2 dam replacement design, is it accessible in the village records? Can we find that?
Oh, that's a good question. Is it on the website or in a previous council package? I don't think so.
All those designs should be in this council package, I believe.
I think it might be in there and I haven't found it. So I can ask staff later, you know.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look, but it should be included in this council package if we were to look.
There were a number of
But-
designs in this council package.
Yeah, so, yeah, with the, when we created the agenda and the package for this council meeting, you should be able to find in there all of the design documentation as well.
I'll look.
Yeah.
And my main question is, will the number 2 dam replacement design include a control system to allow for water to be released into Lower Perseverance Creek during low water level periods?
Yeah, so we will have a low-level control on both the spillway as well as on the main dam structure to allow for water to be able to flow as needed. Again, hope being to move as little as possible down the north branch section, moving as much flow as often as possible down the Cumberland Creek section, down into Lower Perseverance Creek and out.
Okay,
Yeah.
so stakeholder engagement, will there be a chance to have input into what part of Lower Perseverance that goes into?
So yeah, we're going to, as part of this, we're going to be having stakeholder engagement with yourselves, Cumberland Community Forest Society, as well as Mosaic. We have a list that we're kind of generating of folks to make sure that we're discussing with as we move into actually designing this to its kind of final stages.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for being here. And thanks y'all for all you do for fish. Okay, any other questions online or any other questions in the audience? Nope. Okay. Any online?
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Okay. Then we will move to closed, please, if somebody wants to move that recommendation.
I'll move that council close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 90 of the community charter to consider labor relations or other employee relations, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality.
Second.
All in favor of going to close? Thank you. We are